And moving on, let me also introduce my panel at this point. Dr. Avra Sain, spokesperson for BJP, Advocate Swapnil Srivastav, who's a senior associate for MZM Legal, Advocate APS Khadial, who's a spokesperson for Congress, Tausif Rahman, who's a spokesperson for TMC, as well as Tehseen Poonawalla, who's a political analyst and also somebody who's a petitioner before the court against hate speech for that matter. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Let me just go across at this point first to Advocate APS Khadial. How do you look at what the Election Commission has done today? The opening remarks to that. There's been a warning that's been given out, and there's also a BJP complaint against Rahul Gandhi. I'll come for that in a bit, but your opening remarks to this.
Thank you very much for the question. See, first and foremost, a parody account made in the name of Supriya Shrinate made the objectionable post. After that, a hacker picks it up from that parody account on Twitter and posts it on the IDs of Supriya Shrinate, which she reports. And nevertheless, this warning has been issued to Supriya, who has already made it crystal clear that
Mr. Khadial, just one thing. Mr. Khadial, just one thing. I will allow you to continue. Just one fact check. Just allow me one sentence. You have said hacker. That's not what Supriya Shrinate said. Supriya Shrinate said a person who has access to my accounts. That's very different from a hacker.
Now
Please continue.
I'll explain that as well. Now, when she said the person who had access, it could have been a hacker, it could have been a person who had access, and it could have been anyone. Now, the question here is, who would want to do this? Who would possibly have a motive? And who would benefit the most from this? That is what the question should be. And I think everybody would know the answer to that. Number two, these notices, these warnings, why were they never issued to the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders then? When the leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Rajasthan were saying ki agar sarkar ban gayi, if we form government, we'll do away with mosques, we'll do away with gurdwaras. Why was there no warning issued then? Second, when the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders were calling our farmers annadatas terrorists, when their MPs in the parliament were calling fellow MPs terrorists, and when the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders were uttering words like Saddam, die-in for Congress leaders, when they were saying raincoat पहन के नहाना कैसे बड़े अच्छे से आता है, कांग्रेस की कौन सी विधवा है, 50 crore की गर्लफ्रेंड, विदेशी ताकतों का मोहरा, and things that I cannot even say on television because they are so derogatory, they are defaming and they are demeaning. However, the Bharatiya Janata Party ought to have initiated an action against the leaders that have been saying these things time and again. But the Bharatiya Janata Party would be a mum spectator, and that's what they've always done. Therefore, our concern is this: that issuing a warning when the magnitude of the issue is so low is fine. But when all these statements that I'm quoting have been made, which have done massive damage, why was there no action initiated? And why does the Bharatiya Janata Party not feel that they are accountable?
Fair point.
That they also are that they fall under the Constitution, and the freedom of speech and expression has reasonable restrictions under Article 19 clause 1A. Of course, we have freedom of speech and expression, but there are reasonable restrictions to that.
Allow me to go across to BJP at this point. Allow me to go across. Allow me to go across to BJP, sir. Dr. Avra Sain, do you want to come in? Very, very strong statements being made here. Do you want to respond to this? But to add to what Mr. Advocate APS Khadial has said, I also want to add what the former ECI spoke a while ago on this show. He mentioned about how there have been some cases on how the ECI has responded or not responded and how that has discredited the very body. Now, please respond.
Yes, I was astonished to hear the very, very strong statements by the Congress spokesperson. Extremely strong statement, I would say, because he started with a paradox regarding Supriya Shrinate post. She has herself said that someone else had an access to her account. Suppose my account, social media account, is hacked. The simple words that I would use to describe the situation is, my social media account was hacked. somebody had unauthorized
No,
access
point
to my
very well
account.
taken, because
That
that's
is what
something
any-
that I asked him as well.
Yes,
There's a
yes,
big difference
exactly,
between somebody who
exactly,
has access to an account and somebody
exactly.
who's a hacker.
Would a
Yes,
hacker not have
yes.
access?
Please don't interrupt.
But coming to the
Sir,
point,
please
do you
don't
also want
interrupt.
to
You have
respond?
spoken
Do
to
you
me.
also want to
Correct, you
respond to
make
the
a wrong
other
statement.
allegations that were raised?
I am responding to all the things that you have said. First, let me call out his lie or paradox. Okay, that's
Please.
done. So there is no point in defending a person who has come out herself to prove that she has done the mistake, if it's done a mistake by the terms of Congress, whatsoever what they think. But the point is, the contextual post about Kangana Ranaut commoditizes women. It commoditizes women to such an extent that they had to castigate Supriya Shrinate. The problem with Congress party is they have not taken a uniform stand regarding the issue. Questions were asked regarding the statement made by Sri Dilip Ghosh. Dilip Ghosh spoke in a figurative language, and that was not supported by the party. The party asked for a clarification. Dilip Ghosh himself apologized, and we as a party have also apologized if his statements have unwarrantedly hurt anyone's sentiments. BJP as a party does not support any kind of personal attacks against women. I have this morals ground to take a firm stand regarding this issue. This is my party stand. And Dilip Ghosh himself has the spine to come out in the open and give a clarification, even apologize for whatever he has said, if that has hurt anyone's sentiments. But the problem is, when we speak of Mr. Kharge of Congress, a few weeks back, when he was asked by the media about the incidents in Chandesh Khali, his categorical statement was, "Wahan to aisa hota rehta hai." It happens like that in West Bengal. Come on, is that not commoditization of women? Is that not a misogynistic statement? Is that not a derogatory statement regarding women? That the Congress has to answer now. Also, I would like to talk about Smith Rekha Patro. She is contesting the elections from Sandesh Khali.
No, I will. No.
Unfortunately, let me complete. Give me 10
No,
seconds.
I get what you're going to. And Dr. Avra, trust me, I will come back to that. Before I move on from you, Dr. Avra, do you want to respond to the other allegations as well that Mr. Khadial raised? And I assure you, I will come back to Ms. Rekha's issue. That is definitely something that we are going to be talking about.
Mr.
Or you can add to it 30 seconds or 45 seconds before we move on.
Mr. Khadial is living in a fool's paradise. They can say all the lies in the world to create a false narrative, but it's not going to work. They can say whatever they want. You come out of the proof. You come out of the proof. You cannot just sit in the media and just speak lies to tarnish a political party or some leaders. That is not simply done. That is my response to Mr. Khadial's words. First, he has to clarify himself about his categorical stand regarding Supriya Shrinate's statement and Kharge's statement. Secondly, what I was saying regarding Rekha Patro.
I know you want to respond, Mr. Khadial, but allow me to go to the other panelists also for the introductory remark. Let me at this point go to Tausifur Rahman. Tausifur Rahman, how do you respond to this? You heard what the BJP spokesperson spoke about, Dilip Ghosh. You've also heard what the Congress has spoken, and Congress is your ally. You are part of the India Alliance. Of course, not in West Bengal, but the larger messaging. How do you look at both of them?
Sneha, over here, with all due respect, I believe all the panelists will stay under one roof when we talk about women and their dignity, which is non-negotiable. I always say this. You cannot play with the dignity of a woman and it's non-negotiable. But I'm telling you, BJP and their leaders are totally frustrated in Bengal because they have been sidelined by the people of Bengal. And when you talk about Dilip Ghosh is a repeat offender. Following CM Mamata Banerjee's leg injury ahead of 2021 assembly election, he had categorically said Mamata Banerjee should be wearing Bermuda shorts to display her leg. I mean, this is the kind of leaders which are going Delhi inside the parliament representing Bengal and India. I mean, are you going to support this kind of people? Political is all about a debate, about ideology, about arguments, about development. You cannot attack a woman, whether it's from Congress or from TMC or from BJP. You cannot attack someone's personal life. It is very clear. And where is NCW now? NCW was very quick enough to jump into the action case of a woman BJP candidate. But why is it silent now? Why this selective activism? From the past 2 days, the BJP
I will allow Mr. Avra to finish. Allow Mr. Avra to finish. Sorry, allow Mr. Tausifur Rahman to finish.
I mean, from the past 2 days, the BJP had been at the forefront to defend one of their women candidates. But why are the likes of Amit Malviya silent when the old leader is making misogynist comments and questioning the ancestry of not just any woman, but a 7-time MP, former Union Railway Minister and 3-time Chief Minister, Mamata Bandyopadhyay. वो कह रहे हैं कि इनका बाप का पता करो, इनके बाप का ठिकाना नहीं है. Because when she said that I'm the daughter of India, I'm a daughter of Tripura, I'm the daughter of Goa, and he said, Jan, आगे गिये बापटा ठीक करूं. I mean, this is kind of leader you want to select from West Bengal and represent India.
Okay, what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to go for a minute to Dr. Avra Sen and I'm going to go for a minute to Mr. Khadial because both of them want to respond to their respective points before I move on to the other two very important panelists who are going to bring an added perspective to another dimension of our debate. So, one minute. I will not give more time to both of you on this issue, Dr. Avra as well as Advocate Khadial. First to you, Dr. Avra.
See, I was talking about Srimati Rekha Patro. She was a victim in the Sandesh Khali matter. She has been fielded as a candidate of Bharatiya Janata Party from Sandesh Khali constituency. Now, what the TMC has done is shameful. They have used their official handles from various places in Bengal to post fake Photoshop pictures of Rekha Patro. That is what they have done. And they have not apologized about it. Also, what they have done is they have leaked the personal details of Rekha Patro on social media. Rekha Patro was compelled to complain to the National Commission for Women and National SC Commission after this thing done by the TMC. And they are talking about respect of women. We as a political party, Bharatiya Janata Party, have a moral stand regarding this. Also, one more thing. They have disrespected Rajmata, who is contesting the elections from Krishnanagar. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee herself has done this. And this is simply not done. And all the victims of Sandesh Khali, they were called actors. The women were called actors by these TMC people. And they are talking about the
Dr. Avra, you have not responded to what Tausif Rahman said, but you have made your allegations from your side. Tausif Rahman, I give you 15 seconds. Do you want to respond to what Dr. Avra has said before I go to Khadial?
Avra, first you tell me what photo op you're talking about. You need to show to the viewers what are you talking about and what proofs you have. Because
no, I don't think we can show this to viewers. Please don't take that liberty. We'll have to screen
Nari
that.
Shakti, and it is clear BJP hates Nari Shakti. BJP hates Nari, and this is clear.
Social media account on X.
When you talk about MCC,
let me respond.
When you talk about Dilip Ghosh, he's a repeat offender.
All right. Okay.
He's attacking Mamata.
I'm really sorry, Dr. Avra, Tausif Rahman. This is not going anywhere. This is not, unfortunately, how we discuss these issues. So allow me to give you both a break so that you can take a break and I can come back to both of you. Both of you can cool off so our viewers can make sense of what you are talking. Mr. Khadial, 30 to 40 seconds to you before I move on.
Thank you.
To another aspect of this debate.
Perfect. I hope I won't be interrupted. First and foremost, the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson made one statement, specific one, that we stand against leaders that make statements against women, and that he said, I personally am against those leaders. Now, I just want his stand, his opinion on this video, and he should, after I speak, just give his opinion.
Nothing is audible. Nothing is audible, nothing is visible.
I want him to condemn it.
Mr. Khadial, let me clarify. We as
No,
a political
I don't
party
think he heard
are
anything.
against any kind of misogynistic
Sneha, I would like to come again, Sneha. You have to give me time.
Would you want to condemn it?
Sneha,
Okay, all right. I will get back to you if I can, but allow me to go to the other two panelists who have not even spoken a word till now. So all three of you will have to bear with me on this. Advocate Srivastav and Tehseen, I'll come to you first. Let me just lay the context of what I'm going to come to you first for. Advocate Srivastav, help us understand. In the Constitution and the Model Code of Conduct, how do you define or how do you look at what is a low-level rhetoric or personal attack that the Model Code of Conduct does not allow vis-a-vis hate speech during elections?
Sneha, before I answer that question, I must say that from what all the panelists have said here today, everybody seems to be a victim, nobody an aggressor. Now, moving specifically to answer your question on the law, see, the Election Commission is a constitutional body. It gets its powers from Article 324 of the Constitution, and it has the power of superintendence, direction, and control of elections in India. So the Election Commission does have quite a bit of power at its disposal. However, when we come specifically to the issue of the model code of conduct, what we need to remember and appreciate is that it's more of a consent-based system. If you go through the 8 sections of the model code of conduct, you will appreciate that it does not bestow the Election Commission with any far-reaching powers. So coming specifically on how to deal with hate speeches, the Election Commission has 3 ways to go about it. The first is what it has done in the instant case, which is to give strictures against senior leaders, which naturally brings embarrassment at a public level, national level. The second way to go about it is to have a resort to provisions of the Indian Penal Code, as well as the Representation of People's Act, which, although does not have a provision specifically pertaining to hate speech,
It doesn't.
It does have a lot of
Yes, it doesn't.
Sorry, do you have a... Yeah, but it has a lot of other provisions.
No, I'm just saying,
which
I'm just
essentially serve the same function.
That's right.
If you look at, say, 153A of the Indian Penal Code, it penalizes any word or act which causes animosity between two groups on the grounds such as religion, ethnicity, place of birth, etc. Similarly, there is section 295A of the IPC, which also penalizes anything. Yes, Sneha, I sense a query.
Yes, you know, Advocate Srivastav, these are so well-written words in laws that are just open to interpretation or misinterpretation. What you said right now, if I use that in a stricter term, you will not have much of the campaigns that are happening today.
That is a very pertinent point, Sneha.
How does this go forward?
Yeah, that's actually a very pertinent question, Sneha, because we have to contextualize the function that the Election Commission serves. It has to make very quick and efficient decisions. Like in the instant case, in 5 days, the Election Commission came out with an order. So because that is the case, the Election Commission can never be bestowed with far-reaching powers because that will require checks and balances. So again, like the first time something like the Code of Conduct came about in the country, it was widely accepted by the political parties. Somewhere around the 90s especially, there was a peak in it. And all political parties wanted to raise the level of public debate and discourse. So I think there is some conversation that needs to be had in that respect, because from what the panelists have said today, almost every political party has leaders coming out and saying statements which are very unbecoming of their position.
Okay. No, absolutely fair enough. And I think it's so hard to even justify much of what needs to be justified because you belong to a political party. But unfortunately, that's quite the story for all the political parties from what we are seeing. Before I go back to them again, Tehseen Poonawalla, you have petitioned the court on hate speech. The court has made some very strong remarks on hate speech. But hate speech during elections is a totally different ballgame.
Thank you, Sneha, for having me on the show. So hate speech is hate speech, period. And while I do agree with what the senior associate did say, that there are no specific laws, and even the ex-election commissioner of India, there exist special provisions in the IPC to deal with it. 153, 295, if you abuse religion, if you use religion. But more importantly, the election commission, because we're talking about elections currently, does have sufficient power to not just embarrass the political party, but even take action or stop the politicians from campaigning. When the Honorable Prime Minister of India says Shamshan Kabristan, we should be very, very worried. When the Honorable Prime Minister of India says कि दंगइयों को कपड़ों से पहचाना जाता है, a cat call, a whistle, a dog whistle for a particular religion, we should be very worried. Because the power that the Honorable Prime Minister has is disproportionate to what anybody else has. And therefore, the Election Commission is duty-bound to step in and stop. What's unfortunately happened with all political parties right now is the Election Commission is slowly becoming a toothless body. It's now to a level of a secretary who's becoming election commissioner. I don't disrespect anybody in service. But if you have somebody who's a secretary level, how is he going to take on the Prime Minister? मतलब उसको तो जो call आएगा वो PMO के secretary से आएगा, वो PM के secretary से भी नहीं आएगा. वो कैसे लेगा? He's an equal to a prime minister, but no, you put a secretary level second. There is no independent person. So the government has a majority on who to put in. Now, all of these are very problematic areas. What we need to do is talk about long-term reforms in the election commission. Two suggestions that I've made, because I also have the VVPAT case, two suggestions that I've made is that the election commission, which is a constitutional body, must have its own funding. 1% of the GDP should be given to the election commission with checks and balances. Therefore, it is monitored by a parliamentary committee headed by a leader in the opposition. Therefore, the money is not spent without oversight. However, the election commission has financial capacity and does not have to go to the government for funds too. It must have its own legal mechanism and transportation mechanism so as to not depend upon the government, whether center or state. These are two mechanisms that we need to bring in. Once you bring in that, you will see more clarity and more truth in the election commission action. But it's not just the BJP. Even on the other side, you will see hate speeches being made. Everybody's doing that, except nobody will accept our leaders doing that. They'll all say the other person
exactly.
is doing it.
I'm just coming to that, and I know I have to go to Dr. Avra Sen because you have spoken against the Prime Minister. So, Dr. Avra, I will come to you, but Tehseen, another question. Now, the BJP has gone against Rahul Gandhi to come. Now, what did Rahul Gandhi say? Rahul Gandhi said about match fixing. Fair enough, that's so normal in political narrative and political campaignings. Problematic, but normalized. Second aspect, if BJP comes back, अगर BJP वापस आती है, देश में आग लग जाएगी. Is this hate speech?
No. So freedom of speech must be protected, but it cannot. But there's a thin line. But if you consider and you go after every politician for normal political jumlas that they give, then you'll be censuring freedom of speech. So yes, you can use better language. I'm not disputing the language. You can use better language. But idioms will always be a part of political folklore. For example, the BJP used Gali Gali mein shor hai, Rajiv Gandhi chor hai. They used it very openly. Now you go against that. So you have to be very clear. Is the aag lagawi?
No, and by the way, Congress had moved the Election Commission against Prime Minister's comment against Rajiv Gandhi. This was in 2019, and there was a lot of furor over how the Election Commission did not act.
But may I just make one point? You see,
right.
Even if somebody says, let's say I say, I want to push the senior associate. As long as the action isn't of pushing, just a statement cannot be reason enough to prosecute somebody. The Supreme Court's very clear on that. Now, yes, you can use better idioms. So I do suggest Mr. Gandhi use better idioms. But he's not inciting violence. However, saying an entire community that wears a certain amount of clothes, I can't.
Dr. Havra, how do you respond to Tehseen Poonawalla saying that is not hate speech, but also talking about how instances where there were catcalls, there were alarm bells that should have rung when Prime Minister did say certain words?
No, the words of Rahul Gandhi is not a hate speech. It's a love letter. It undermines the basic tenets of the Constitution, ma'am. He is questioning the constitutional provisions. He is questioning the Election Commission. He is questioning the entire system with his remarks. He is comparing the democracy of our country to IPL. He is stooping to the level of saying that these elections are fixed. If these elections are fixed, if he is so hell-bent upon believing that the elections are fixed, why is he taking part in it? He is making a fool out of himself. That is what I would say.
But Dr. Avra Sen, would you agree to this? Match, if you're going, I understand if you're talking about Desh mein aag lag jayegi is a different thing. But if you're talking about match fixing, Dr. Avra Sen, every party has spoken about elections match fixing. In Kerala, BJP goes and talks about left and Congress having match fixing deals, about fixing them, about the elections being a sham. I mean, you know better of it even in West Bengal. But match fixing, do you call that as personal low-level hate, anti-constitutional?
What Rahul Gandhi has said, he has questioned the structure of Election Commission, the functioning of Election Commission, the sanctity of the Election Commission. That what he has done, and it is not okay. It is absolutely not okay. It is unacceptable in the biggest.
Okay. Before I go to the others as well, let me just come in. Advocate Swapnil Srivastava, beyond what seems to be the ideal world, how do you define hate speech in politics? Okay, Tehseen, 30 seconds.
Just 1 second. Sorry.
I go to the... yes.
Look, I'm again saying Rahul Gandhi should perhaps choose better language, and I've told him this personally also. I think he should. But questioning election commission, questioning media, questioning government is basis 101 of democracy, questioning courts. How in a democracy can you not question institutions? Democracy means questioning institutions day in and day out. If we are to say, oh, I am sorry, you're making hate speech because you're questioning institutions, we will no longer be a democracy. What does BJP think? What is democracy? Democracy is about criticizing institutions.
True. And I guess the match-fixing gambit that comes in, I mean, I have heard all political parties, including the BJP, speak that. I've heard that in Kerala. I've heard that in the South as well. That's where I have covered elections on the ground. But to you, Mr. Srivastav, practically speaking, is there a way to define hate speech? Because Tehseen says what Rahul Gandhi has said, ab ki desh mein aag jal jayegi, is not hate speech. Avra says, that is very much hate speech. How do you define hate speech? BJP has put in a complaint. How do you say that?
Yeah, if you do a comparative analysis of what hate speech laws are like in other countries or how it is treated by global bodies, you will come to appreciate that it is only hate speech when you're specifically targeting a group of people on grounds such as religion, race, ethnicity, beliefs, community, things like that. And I can sense that there is an attempt being made to paint usual political rhetoric as hate speech. And that's slippery slope. We should not do it because, as Mr. Poonawalla rightly pointed out, it will lead to self-censorship. It will lead to a chilling effect, which in turn would adversely affect the freedom of speech and expression. And I would like to respond
Point
to
taken.
what
I'm told I just have 2 minutes.
Just take 10 seconds, Sneha. I feel that any democracy, any strong democracy must be able to withstand scrutiny and questions and criticisms about its democratic processes. That's the mark of a strong democracy.
All right. Okay. Sure. Yes. I think I saw at one point Tausif-ur Rahman raise his hand. So Tausif, a minute to you and then a minute to Mr. Khadial.
No, I just want 20 seconds before we end this show today. And when we are talking about hate speech, when we're talking about Nari Shakti, when we're talking about MCC, you know, the Tamluk candidate from West Bengal, Abhijit Ganguly, what he said 3 days back, it will be very shocking for your viewers. He said in Bengali, Mamata Banerjee's Mrityu Ghanto beje geche. That means उनकी मौत की घंटी शुरू हो चुकी है. Are you trying to kill Mamata Banerjee?
I have heard his statement. Everybody in Bengal has heard his statement.
Justice
Ganguly has said
have you filed an FIR? Tausif, have you filed an FIR? Because according to the clarification that came in, he said he wishes the demise of TMC, not Mamata Banerjee.
Exactly.
But she said,
have you filed an FIR?
Exactly.
Is there an FIR?
Rather, Tausif, you should answer a few days back. Tausif, you should answer. I have a question for you.
Tausif, is there an FIR?
You should answer. TMC as a political party had questioned the sanctity of the election commission a few weeks back. You answer on that.
No,
you said the election should be held under the guidance of the Supreme Court.
Okay, all right. I think both Tausif as well as Dr. Avra have made their points of what they want to do. Again, Mr. Advocate Khadial,
Thank you,
a minute to you.
Thank you, Sneha. First and foremost, a party really had trouble when Mr. Gandhi uttered the words match fixing, but that party has no problem doing it. I mean, hearing it's very problematic, very troublesome for them, but they have no problem when they do such things. So that party that has a problem with this should start practicing what they preach in the first place. And second is, the gentleman who was first saying that, I stand against the statements made against women should, one, answer of one rebut what I had said in the last segment, and should rebut this as well.
Again, sir,
we're totally out of time.
Kharge's remarks.
That's all.
No, we're totally out of time. We're totally out of time. And problem with this is, Khadial, no one can really hear or make out of what you put out on that video. We're totally out of time. Thank you very much, each of you, for joining us, giving in your very important perspectives. This is a hugely important issue to be seen very closely in a very crucial democratic process that India is going through. And before I finish this debate, 668 hate speech instances in 2023. I don't think any political party can say there was none from them. Time for a short break.